and welcome everybody. My name is Lynn or LV Handcrafted, and I'm super excited. This is the first Meet the Designer live stream. And as you can see, my very first guest is Dalis. She goes by StamprGrl on all of the socials. And I hope this is the start of a series of Meet the Designers where I sit and do a one-on-one live interview with different um, paper crafters, card makers, designers, and learn a little bit more about how they got to where they're at, and in particular, their thoughts and opinions on design teams. And the reason for this series is because my crafty friend Danny and I actually run a Facebook group called Design Team 101. Our goal with that group is to create a community of crafters who want to just have a space to help each other through peer mentorship and just to kind of focus a little bit more on the behind the scenes, maybe some of the technical aspects of, how do you share content? How do you become a content creator? How do you get onto design teams? How do you be successful when you're on a design team? That was our goal for creating the group. It's pretty new. It's only been a couple months now, but we've been loving the interaction so far and how welcoming and how helpful everybody has been in that group. One of the things that we are introducing this quarter is a guest mentor, is how we are referring to it. And Dalis is our very first guest mentor. Super excited to have her as a guest mentor because she's got so much history and experience in the design team world. And so we're really lucky that she's so open and willing to kind of share. So she has, if you caught any of my previous Let's Talk Design Team series, she has been active in pretty much all of them, whether she was in the live chat or was live during the panel discussion of the designer roundtable that I did. So Dalis is an open book. So if you are joining live, I hope that you take advantage of this opportunity and ask her all the questions that you have about her history as a paper crafter and designer. And in particular, we felt that the timing of this stream cannot be more opportune because there are so many design team calls out there right now. And so if you are looking at preparing your design team application, I hope you're here. If you're here live, I hope you'll do me the favor of liking this stream wherever you're watching, because we are simulcasting to my channel, Dalisa's channel, and as well to the Design Team 101 Facebook group. So from wherever you're watching, hit that like button, hit the share button. If you know folks who are trying to apply and get onto design teams, by sharing this stream, hopefully they'll see your notification and in time to catch us live so that they can actually ask Dalis questions in real time while we have her and she can respond right away. If not, please do join the Design Team 101 Facebook group, because that is the whole goal of the group is to kind of help folks who have the goal of getting onto a design team. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and pasted the Design Team 101 Facebook group link. So if you're not familiar with that, there's a quick link for you to pop on over and join the group if you'd like. And without further ado, I want to bring on Dalis so that she can introduce herself. So Dalis, welcome, my friend.
Hi,
Thank
everyone.
you for joining. And tell us, just tell us, introduce yourself and tell us where you share your makes and all of that good stuff.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I am honored to be the first mentor for the Design Team 101 group. Yay! Um, in the social medias, you can find me under StamprGrl for YouTube, for Instagram, for Facebook, and even for WordPress for my blog. And we make all the changes. I know that there was at some point that I had different ones, but now everything is under StamprGrl. So I am glad that is finally done.
Yay! That's
Yes,
good. That makes it easy to find you.
yes, it
So,
does.
oh, lots of people excited to see you on camera. So, Meg says, hello, Dalis. Wow, you look beautiful tonight. Stacy says, wow, a face to the name and voice. Woohoo!
Thank you.
Quite the
I
treat, I
I
know.
know I did. I washed my hair, the whole thing. Put my
Yay.
big earrings.
Wow. See, this is why you'll never see me. I can't do all that. I see Jay is in the house. Welcome, Jay. Um, Jay says, I guess I should be using potato water in Delisa's honor. Yes,
I
potato juice.
know. I am being good and just having regular water.
Nice. I see Terry is here. Terry says, hello, I wasn't supposed to be able to be here, but my last session of the day canceled. Yay! So glad. Yeah,
Yay!
round of
Round of
applause.
applause.
Awesome. And Lazy Dave Stampin is here. Welcome, my friend. All right. So super excited. Jay says you're very sparkly. I saw the unicorn first, so very sparkly. I think those are your earrings, maybe.
Yes.
Or maybe you. I don't know. But I think you're a unicorn, is what Jay is saying here.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So, well, I'm excited that you're here, and thank you for being our first mentor, because it's quite new, and so so you're so brave to to just jump right in. So super excited. Heather's here as well. So hello, Heather. Okay, so we are. Oh wait, before I dive into our first question, I have to read
Yeah.
Terry's comment. Delise does have a very sparkly personality. Oh,
Thank
so
you.
sweet, so sweet. All right. So first question. We'll start off easy, Delise. How did you get started in paper crafting?
Well, my sister and I used to be in the same apartment in college, right? So we were we are still super close. And she graduated from college, left me behind, and got married. And I came to visit her to New Jersey, and she had this new craft.
Oh.
And the first thing that she showed me was how to heat emboss. And I was completely hooked. You know, is there anything that can get you hooked is to see your first heat embossing and see that gold embossing powder melt.
That's true.
It is true. Like I saw that, I was like, wow, I need to be able to do this, like this paper magic that she created. And she just had a handful of stamps. It was not that company that sells stamps. It was, she had a little tiny store.
Oh.
And yes, and we went there and I was like, whoa. And I remember buying my first set of foam stamps that have the rubber, but then they're connected to foam instead of wood, because those were less expensive, and I still have them. Oh, I should have taken them out. So there were Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh
Aw.
stamps, and I still have them, and I still use them, and I still adore them, because up to this day, I'm like, to me, that was just, I was immediately hooked. Like there was no thinking about it. The only thing that I was thinking is like, how, as a college student, am I going to be able to afford the things that I need? Because I was still living in Puerto Rico, so this was nothing.
Oh.
None of this had arrived there.
Oh, that's context I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, oh my God, how am I gonna buy this stuff? How am I gonna get it there? How am I gonna use it and get more stuff? Because
So,
again, 25 years ago, there was an Amazon delivering you the next day.
right. Yeah, but in Puerto Rico, was there, well, at the time and now, is paper crafting big or
So yes.
accessible?
So back there, nothing. But I would say starting in the 2000s, it just boomed. It
Okay.
boomed with the scrapbooking and
Mm,
the card making. There are not that many um, there are not that many stores, but the stores that are in the island, they are well located and they are great stores.
oh,
And they
okay.
actually make I was looking that they're having this super amazing classes this weekend for Memorial
Oh,
Weekend in one of the stores, and they're bringing people from Spain and Italy, so
yeah.
people from Minke,
Yeah.
people from CNC. I'm like, all these people are flying to Puerto Rico just to give classes for this weekend. So
Wow.
I
That's
know
awesome.
I
It's
am a
kind of
little bit
it's
green of envy.
yeah, it's interesting to kind of get that perspective of how global, paper crafting is, and it's something that connects us all kind of,
And
worldwide.
it's a completely new market because like they have like stamps in Spanish, they have dyes in Spanish. They like it is so diverse, and
Hmm.
sometimes you go and I feel like the the styles are so different from what we see in the
Oh,
American market. Well, even if
okay.
you compare the American market and the European market, I think even the Latin market in terms of paper crafts is completely different. It's more towards what the European market is doing now.
Interesting. So, okay, that brings up another follow-up question for me, because
Mm-hmm.
in Puerto Rico, then, are there stamp companies that are regional, or do you see a lot of, the brands that we're familiar with who have localized, and translated their stamps to sell in that market?
So there are no, not that I know, there are no stamp companies that are originally from Puerto Rico that I know
Okay.
of.
Okay.
Um, they do bring a lot of stuff from Spain. So
Ah,
Spain and Italy makes Italy makes a lot of Spanish products. So Spain and Italy make a lot of products in Spanish they bring to Puerto Rico on the Latin market. There are some
Italy.
stores like,
Huh.
yeah, there's some bigger stores like in Mexico that the store like we see here, like Michael's would have their own die cuts, like
Mhm.
Recollections.
Oh, right, right.
So
Uh-huh.
so these stores are bigger stores in Mexico that they have their own die cut line or
Okay.
their own stamp line, but
Uh,
they're not as big. There are some companies, some American companies that have dabbled into translating some of the sentiments in
mhm.
stamps and die cuts, but it hasn't translated as well. People
Uh,
tend to, yeah, people tend to buy them in English and just use the characters and use the sentiment the way it is. Like I
oh,
don't,
okay.
yeah, I don't think it has actually, you know, transfer the way that they want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. We got a lot of interest here. So, Amalia says, Dalis, I need to go to Puerto Rico to visit the craft stores.
I know, Amalia, they
Um,
are so fun.
And B just joined us. Hi, B. She says, "How are you?" I'm sorry I'm late. No worries.
No worries.
Okay, so Malia wanted to ask you, where do you live now?
So I am in the Midwest. I live in Illinois. I do enjoy cold weather.
Uh-oh.
I don't even I don't even know how this happened, but I really do love winters. Like I think anything above 30 degrees is amazing. Like 30 to 60s are my jam.
Okay, that's you. I don't like the cold. I would
I
not survive.
know. I know. You know, and they
Okay.
have started with that I really like sweaters and just
Okay.
buying sweaters. So maybe
Yeah.
that's the way it
I could
started.
see that. I could see that. Terry says, "Oh my goodness, I want stamps and dies in Spanish. I need a source." Do you have a source?
Teresa. Yes. So I will post some at the crafty group. There's this designer. It's called Laura Bailadora. She has some stuff that is just so cute and so amazing. So I'll put some links in the group.
Yeah, do it to DT 101. If you
Okay.
could. Yeah. Another question for you, Dalis. Maria says, "Hello there. What company is going to Puerto Rico again? I just joined." So which were the ones you mentioned that were doing the demonstration at that store?
Um, so I think it was Minte and Cici and Laura Bailadora. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, thank you for
Hmm.
that.
I know, and they do these like amazing retreats. And I think it's this weekend. I can't even remember if it's this weekend. But they do like whole weekends, and they stay up at the beach. And I'm like, oh my
They
God.
stand at the beach. Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
because they open up, they go to the hotels and they open up they take the rooms that open up to just outside. And I can't even.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's the
I
way to
love
scrap.
I love how in the chat folks are letting us know that whether they like cool weather also. You got a lot of folks in your camp. So
I'm telling you, I prefer to have short, like sleeveless, short sleeve sweater, coat, then be sweating.
you like all the layers.
All the layers, but as long as I'm not sweating, like my 75, today was 79, and I was like, okay, this is hot.
That's hot for you.
I know,
79 is
but
about perfect.
I know, but I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah. You're acclimated. You're totally
Yeah,
acclimated now.
yeah, 25 years here in the
Yeah.
Midwest.
Awesome. Well, that's cool. That's a bit of I'm learning so much about you already, Delise. So this is fun. All right. Um, well, thank you for sharing how you got into paper crafting
Hmm.
because I agree with you. Embossing, the first time you see that, it's very magical. It's like magic. So
Yes. Hmm.
love that. Love that. Okay, so um also folks in the chat, feel free at any time to ask questions. I forgot to mention that earlier. If I don't see your question, it's likely just because I missed it. So don't hesitate to ask again or ask in all caps. I promise I won't think that you're yelling at me. So next question. So Delise, how would you describe your style?
So this is a question that I swear is in every DT application you fill out.
Mm-hmm.
What is your style?
Yep.
And I am all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I One day I will post, these are very not very frequent days, but I will post a clean and simple card, and be completely and absolutely in love with it. And the next time I will be using toilet paper, right? So I am all over the spectrum, and but I think the way that I would describe my style, it's fun and bright.
Oh, you know what? Meg agrees. She said bright and bold.
There you go.
Yeah. So nailed it.
Yeah,
So, Yvette just joined us. She
the
says I'm all
divide.
over the place
Yeah,
too. I think
yeah.
most of us are when it comes to crafting.
And there's some people that have a very defined style. So when I sketch or draw, I have a very defined style.
Yeah.
But when I'm making cards, it's since I'm starting with somebody else's art, I think that influences what you end up doing with
Yeah.
the piece.
That's true. That's true. I never thought about it that way, but you're right because a lot of design decisions are driven by, the pattern paper that we're using or the stamp set that we're using, or
Mm-hmm.
which all kind of brings its own style to the table. Heather says that she loves your creativeness,
Thank you,
and
Heather.
Maria says your cards are very lovely. And that you are very talented. So we
Thank
have a
you.
question
Oh,
from Stacy. Question: do you feel you purchase more products being on the design team due to new releases, for example?
Stacy, I do not need an excuse to buy more stuff.
Yeah, seriously.
Um, it is a struggle. I've been trying to be good, and Lynn knows it. I've been trying to
Yeah.
be good. Um,
I've tried to
I
enable her and she's actually said no a couple times.
I know. Who's that? Um, if Stacey, if I were to use every single piece of cardstock that I have in this room,
In this room, not to mention
and
her garage.
I'm not counting anything in the basement in this room or hidden in the trunk of the car. Um, I think I would probably could go an extra 25 years without needing anything.
So you don't think being on design teams has actually like led to more spending?
Um, I don't think so, because when you're in a design team, you kind of have to be controlled in terms of what you're featuring, right? You want to feature the company that is sending you the products. So you want to make sure that when somebody sees that card, they go, if it's the stamp image, oh my God, look at that stamp. They don't go, oh my God, that pattern paper in the back is amazing. And that company doesn't have anything to do with the pattern paper. So you kind of have to like walk the line and kind of stay into what you thinking, what am I really featuring for this card?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful answer.
Mm-hmm.
Stacey, I see your other question. I'm gonna star it and come back to it because we're gonna hit that topic a little later. So don't worry. I see it. It's starred. I will come back to it. So let's get to our next question. Just give us a little bit of context as to, because this talk is a little bit more geared towards design teams, just so that we can get a sense for your experience, your history, etc. How many different teams have you actually been on, and for how long have you been designing for design teams, whether it's a challenge team or a company run team?
So I started scrapbooking paper making. I started that 28 years ago when my sister hooked me up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I started actually scrapbooking when she had her child in 2000. So that immediately I was like super drawn because she had the cutest baby. So I had to I'm a crafty person. I needed to do something. I started by sewing her dresses, and then I wanted to make little books that had the picture of the dress and then the picture of her
Aw.
wearing the dress. Yeah, so I was like, oh. So I got hooked into scrapbooking, and then I realized scrapbooking takes a lot of effort on how to put things together,
Mhm.
because nowadays we have like collections, like companies just throw at you so much. 23 years ago, a collection was paper and maybe some stickers, but
Mm.
you really had to pull if you wanted, like if you wanted something more creative, or if you wanted to add something extra, you had to pull from some other companies. So then I started getting drawn to scrapbook kits. These smaller companies will buy from manufacturers, and they will buy from different manufacturers, and they would match up colors and put a kit together for you.
Mhm.
And with this kit, you could do, I don't know, anywhere between 2 pages to 3 pages. And I got hooked on those. And that's how I started getting into scrapbook kits, creative teams. And I think at one point it was probably at 6 of them at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And again, I was not scrapping about me at all. It was all of it. This kid. It's just pictures and pictures and pictures. And mind you, it was hilarious because I was like, how am I gonna do this to use pictures of her kid, because she didn't want any of the pictures in social media.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I started buying stock pictures. So I would take my pictures for the design team with stock pictures, and then put the ones for the kid, for the kiddo. So
Aw.
and I was like probably at 6 of those at a time. Then I went back to 3. Then back, but I was there for probably, I would say, 6 years doing scrapbook kits, DT.
Okay.
I was
And how
I was
many
doing
how many years ago was that?
that
Like,
was in 2000s, in the
oh,
early
okay, in 2000.
2000s.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
long ago.
Then I was lucky to be able to be part of 2 different Canadian scrapbooking manufacturers teams. And once those 2 came in, I kind of slowed down, decided to step away from the scrapbooking kits, because I wanted to really, really dedicate my time to be working with these 2 companies.
Mm.
They were both Canadians, and they were so amazing and great. I was so grateful to work with them. They would send me the entire collection, and I just got to play.
Oh, wow. Fun.
Yes, I
Very
would mail them my pages and my booklets, and they would mail them back at the end of the season. So that was a really cool experience, because I was the only U.S. DT member. All the other ones were in Canada. Let's see. I had 2 DTs here local. This area really boomed when scrapbooking hit, and we all joined the bandwagon. So I was in 2 different stores teaching. I love teaching. I love explaining people. I love making people fall in love with things
Aw.
that I love. So I did that for many years, to the point that one of the stores, when the owners decided to retire, I got invited to the retirement party.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
Aw.
so I was there many years, probably 12 to 15 years.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Quick question. Terry
Mhm.
says, Dalis, did you ever specifically set up a photo with a cute kiddo just to go with some specific scrapbooking products? Not that I ever did that.
Duh. Of course. is my child. Her clothes, they went with exactly
Of
the
course.
whichever new PI memories or whichever manufacturer came out, and I was in love with the papers. That's what my child was wearing.
That's so
Yep.
funny. Yeah, we've got a lot of folks in the chat who have done that too, so you're not
Oh
alone.
yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
alone there. Okay, so then, when did you finally get into more like the card making design
So
teams?
I stopped scrapbooking for a while because it was a lot. It was overwhelming. And one day I came back to digital scrapbooking.
Oh, okay.
And when I came back to digital scrapbooking, I was doing hybrid and printing out because I still wanted the feel of the paper. Then that got a little out of hand because it's really expensive to be printing your own paper all the time. So
Oh,
that's how
yeah.
I said, especially when I have the collection that is behind me. It did not translate, but I still wanted to do the digital because I think it's so forgiving. Like that Control Z undo is your best friend. Um, so I did digital scrapbooking, and I'm still in a few DTs for pretty big digital companies in the digital scrapbooking world. And I suddenly saw myself just back into stamping. I was like, I need an outlet.
Mm.
And this was it. And once COVID hit too, that was like, okay, I really need to be able to breathe.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
So, have you basically since the very beginning, have you always been on a design team, at least one design team, or did you ever take a break?
I took a break for a while between.
Oops. Dalis, come back. Let's hope. I was just there we go.
There you go. And I think my headphones just there's some malfunctioning. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, I took a break after right before when I came back was for digital scrapbooking. Because I thought, oh, this is not gonna cost me a thing. Yes. And I was very lucky that since my background is computer engineering, I was able to pick up digital scrapbooking and hybrid and all this, and I was able to get into some of the designers that I really liked into their teams, and then I really was not costing me a thing other than making pages, um, and then having them print out, and I really enjoyed that. But I think for scrapbooking for me, it's digital, but for creating cards, I need the
The physical?
yeah, the physical. Even though I let me tell you, I do enjoy very much so digital paper piecing.
Yeah. I mean, it's convenient to have
Yeah.
the digis for sure.
Hmm.
So it sounds like you've had a pretty long and illustrious history being on design teams. If you had to ballpark how many different teams you've been on, could you give us a figure?
So probably a good 6 to 10 of the scrapbooking kits, the two Canadian manufacturers, the two local stores, I would say anywhere between 12 and 20
Yeah.
digital scrapbooking and hybrid teams, maybe more.
So a lot of different teams. So you've seen a lot of different,
Yeah.
you know, team dynamics
Yes.
and because that's what I want to get at so that when we go in deeper into this conversation, people have an understanding that your opinions are based on a very deep and broad experience of it's not a matter of you've been on 3 design teams. You're speaking from a long history being on a design team and a very broad history of being on many different design teams, focusing on different products, focusing on different output, scrapbooking versus cards, digital versus physical product.
Mhm.
So this is why we're so lucky, folks, to have Dalis as our meet the designer for this first interview, because she comes at us with a lot of experience and different experiences also globally and internationally. So I think it's keep that in mind when you're kind of taking in the perspective and experience that Delise is sharing. I don't think you'll be able to nail it to any particular company because she's speaking from a pretty broad amount of experience here. So that's awesome. Let's just take this fun question from
Okay.
Stacy. What does your family think of your quote collection? I think she means your stash.
About my stash. Okay, my husband is worse than me. He has his own stash. So my husband is, I love him to pieces. We've been married for 20 some years. Do not ask me how long. I am terrible with dates. Um, but like he rotates hobbies.
Mm.
So a few years he could be doing music and he'll buy a gazillion stuff for music. And then he could be painting and then he could be speed skating on ice. And then he like so he rotates his hobbies. I do not. So that's the only difference. I tell him my stash looks bigger, but it's just because it's of the same kind of area, the same stuff.
Right.
It's all over
Yeah.
the
So there's
place.
no judgments. There's no
No,
judgments.
and he's one of those people that he does a hobby and he's done with the hobby. He gets rid of stuff. He's like, oh yeah, I'm done.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, let's go to the next thing in life. And I'm like, whoa, I'm dude, I have papers that are almost older than our marriage. I'm like,
I believe it
yeah,
because you're always crafting with it, and you're like, "Sorry, Lynn, you can't get that anymore."
he did that.
All right. Okay, so with that context in mind, in terms of your design team history, let's look at our next question here. So, and you touched on this a little bit, but why did you there's a lot of different reasons why people decide that they want to be on the design team. And reasons could be, to just get free stuff. We heard that answer quite a lot in design in my Let's Talk Design Team series. Some people want to kind of increase sort of their profile and platform on social media. So, what was your motivation for why you decided to join a design team?
Well, my one of the first design teams, or I don't want to call it design team, but I was like working, teaching classes at my local store was because first of all, I was there already every day.
Oh.
That is so every time after my 8 to 5 job, I would drive all of 8 minutes to get to this amazing store and just be there until closing time.
Oh, wow.
So I was there. I was already helping, oh, what are we gonna order? I'm like, I wouldn't make decisions. I'm like, oh, we should order that, and I'm like, and then they would listen to me, and the product will come, and they're like, and how do we use this? And I'm like,
So
and
did you kind of just fall into it then?
I kind of fall into it, and they were like, "Well, if you can design a class around this product, we can make like little kits when people come. They learn how to use it and take it home and play, and
Oh,
we'll give you a discount." And for me, a discount was huge because again,
okay.
I was coming every day.
Oh, so it was the discount that got you. The
Yes,
discount on product. Okay.
yes, because I was young and I was just using my check literally to pay for my car, gas, apartment, and stamps. Barely any food.
I know. I was like, where's food on that list?
Barely any food. Okay.
Just enough to survive.
Yeah.
Okay, so if your first, that initial motivation was to maybe save some money or maybe be able to get more crafty supplies, is that the same motivation that you have today for joining design teams, or has that changed? Like
I think
today, why are you interested in design teams?
so. Right now, the reality is, like I said, I do not need anything. So I sometimes I can't even think of like going and like I see these like people go and buy the collection and I'm like, oh yes, I want the collection. Do I need the collection? No, I don't need that collection. I probably have something really similar in my house. So I think this is my way of getting some newbies, new stuff, and actually using it. Because it not only you get it, you are forced to use it. You have to use it because you have a responsibility with this company, right?
Mhm.
And I think that is it has such a great feeling to actually get something and use it instead of just getting it and hoarding it. I think it's two different hobbies.
Yes, I've heard that said often, that buying craft supplies is one hobby and using craft supplies is a
It's
different
completely
hobby.
different. Yeah.
Okay, so your motivation these days is to, um I mean, is it fair to say it's to get free product that then you are, kind of
It's
forced to have to use?
it's to get myself to force them to use some new stuff. Yeah.
Mm, okay, very cool. So I'm gonna pop back to Stacy's earlier question. She asked, "What are the benefits of being on a team besides getting your work shown or meeting new people?" Oh, Delise, I think you froze.
I think it's you know what I oh no. Okay, am I back? Yes.
Yeah, your audio's back. I think your
Okay.
video's back. Yeah.
Okay. I truly feel so great and so good about me as a person when somebody enjoys and tries something that I tell them that I enjoy.
Mm.
I
So,
I think
kind
it's that.
of is it do you just like sharing? Do you like the validation of people liking your ideas or
I think it's more the sharing than the validation.
mm.
Like the validation is great. Like let me tell you, I was over the moon when that short got to 12,000 views. I was like, holy moly, how did that happen? But like when somebody sends you a message and says, oh my God, I love that. And I was like,
Aw.
oh, like, do you need any more help, like finishing it? Or like, I want to be involved. I think I was meant to be a teacher and maybe in another life I was. I just really enjoy teaching and sharing what I know.
Yeah, okay, so just, like, passing on kind
Yeah,
of your, um, techniques or style or whatever it happens to be that you're featuring. Just the
yeah,
idea
like
that, somebody else,
I,
kind of, wants to give it a try, and
yeah. I know a lot of people like that are in the industry. They want to keep it quiet. Like if they do something special, they want to keep it quiet just so they are like out there, like the only ones.
Mhm.
That's not me. Like,
Yeah,
well,
for
you
sure, that's not you.
Liz knows that every time I figured out something different, I'm like, oh my god, ladies, wait until you see this. I'm gonna do a video about, because I really want people to have fun. Like life is hard.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's so true that you are very generous with your knowledge, you're very generous with your ideas, and very generous with your creativity. So I can totally see, what you mean by um, getting your joy from just sharing. And so that's wonderful. To Stacy, just to answer your question from other perspectives, there's a lot of things that can be seen as benefits of being on a team. You've already hit on two of them. So if you're trying to grow your platform, then having a company or brand or blog challenge
Yeah.
promote your um, work helps to just broaden your reach, and it just gets your name or your crafty handle out there in front of more people. The meeting new people, I think, works on a lot of different planes, because you meet a lot of people in the crafty world in terms of your design teammates and different company owners and things like that. But to Delisa's point, just your viewers and being connected to your viewers who comment and who join live streams and chat with us. And that's for me, is what I love about being on a team, because my platform wouldn't be where it's at without the boost of design teams helping to bring an audience to my channel. And that's why so many lovely people, all of you friends in the chat, are probably aware of me only because of that. And I love getting to chat with um, the comments, that people leave, and replying, reading and replying to all of those. And then now with live streaming, getting to chat with you in real time and have a little bit more of a back and forth. So I think that community aspect is definitely a benefit to being on a design team. And of course, Delise already mentioned, getting product, getting discounts on product. And so that's always nice, because as crafters, many of us always want the latest and greatest. And if we can get it for free, then all the better. And especially if it's from a brand that we love, which you should really only be applying to design teams whose brand you love. So it's all, icing on cake. So lots and lots of benefits.
That
And
was that was
oh,
my number one thing on the top five tips.
yes, it was. Love 90% of of what they're selling. So, yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing with being on the design team that is a benefit that I have found, and Delisa's touched on this, is that because you get what you get. You don't often get to choose. And sometimes that may not be something you would have bought for yourself if you had to pick. And what that ultimately kind of, I won't want to say forces, but challenges you to do, is to actually think outside of your box a little bit. So I feel like being on the design team actually has helped me to grow as a crafter, as a designer, and being on different design teams that have different styles, have different aesthetics, have different structures, like Kendra's card challenge is all about sketches, and I was never very strong on card sketches, but now being on the team, I'm developing that skill. So I would love to be on a team like a oh, what's the brand that Meg loves? But they're more like mixed media kind of style. And again, that's a style that I'm weak in. And if I were on their team, it would really force me to, to develop that.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I think has been of huge benefit to me as my design team experience. And so let me catch up on chats a little bit. Delise, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that one of my number one item in the top five of tips for putting a DT application was make sure you love, and I made sure that it was all caps. It's not that you like 90% of their products. You need to love them because you never know when a company is going to shift gears and maybe start with new designer or something. But that could also be such an opportunity because what makes you uncomfortable when you
Mhm.
sit down and create, it's what's going to get you outside the box. It's
Yeah.
what's going to make you just go a little bit harder in terms of making it work. In most of the things that I make, that I am like super duper like ecstatic about it, is things that I didn't think I was going to be good at.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I found that to be true too.
Mhm.
Definitely. So catching up on comments a little. So Meg says, I agree, Delise. I get a boost from sharing ideas and crafty coolness with other crafters. Jay says, I like the validation. Me too, Jay. It's true when somebody invites you to be on their design team, it does feel very validating. So I
I
agree.
felt yeah, Jay, I felt like I had like two, like I was a dog with two tails when that short hit the 12,000 years. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, I swear, all day I was checking. Oh my God, it went to this. Oh my God, it went.
Amalia says, what Delisa saying really resonates with me. The feedback gives me life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Aw. So lots of folks
I
who
know.
share your sentiment. So
We,
Lazy Day Stamping says, this is a really great reason. I feel the same and miss doing classes. Aw. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. I'm like missing. There's been a lot of chit chat. Okay. Meg says, "This is so true, Lynn. I have had to challenge myself outside of my box many times due to teaching projects. Yay." And Jay says, I love it when strangers say nice things about my projects. Yeah, because it's not like your family who's just, they have to like it, or at least say they like it. So, so yeah, it's really nice when other people in the community are complimentary of your work or want to try it. I mean, they say, what's it? They say like copying somebody is like the best form of flattery. So,
yeah,
when somebody says, "Oh, I want to try that fun fold" or what have you, I always feel like, "Oh, that's so sweet." Love that. Okay, so kind of following up on that, but what would you say is your favorite thing about being on a design team that you didn't expect?
the people,
You didn't expect to
100%.
like the people?
I expected to like them, but like I didn't expect to be how many months later be talking to Lynn and Kim, like in our little chat. Like it's like sometimes you gotta find your own crazies. You know what? And sometimes it's in those DTs that it clicks, and I'm like, oh my God, where have you been all my life? Um, so I think it's that community. It's back again to the community. I think especially now after what we passed through COVID, that we were so isolated. Now we just
No.
like so many businesses went out of business, and now we don't have the places where we used to go and craft. And I think we're still missing that connection, and we're looking for it.
Mhm. Yeah. That's a good point. I COVID has changed a lot of things in a lot of different ways, and for it's interesting because I think for the crafting community, it almost like for some companies, it almost increased sales because it was something you could do from home and with your kids and as, an activity to, maybe even have a side business of, making and selling your cards. So I think there was, some upside to the isolation due to COVID, but
Yeah,
then there were some downsides to it for sure because, there weren't as many crops anymore and, everything became virtual events and online events, which in a way is good and in a way, you know, maybe not the best for some people. Certainly having virtual events and a global community is really nice. But I think just having, kind of face to face real conversations is,
yeah,
um, probably something that, different people value different ways of connecting. So it's nice when you can have those options.
100%.
Meg says, I have no support from my family, so this online venue is amazing to me. I love all the like minded people in craft groups. Does your family do you have your family is very supportive. Brenda and both your sisters are in our live streams crafting with us. Your kid crafts with you. She hasn't crafted with us, but you seem blessed with a family that's very supportive of your crafting.
Yeah, we're very craft oriented family. The only thing is that we have, I would say, we are three extreme different styles in my house between my husband, Bianca, my daughter, my 16-year-old daughter, and I. Like we are really, really like what I like is not necessarily what they like. So when I struggle with something, I'll go ask them and they give me completely opposite.
You're like, "That's no help."
Opposite idea, and then my idea is like right down there. So it's like so to give you an example, my husband believes in like when you're coloring, he does very soft coloring, so not too much contrast. For me, it's all about the contrast. It's all about making it look so bold just by using contrast. Not
Yeah.
necessarily by using bold colors, but by using your contrast. So sometimes I go like, "Oh, I just need some more contrast," and he's like, "No, it's perfect. Just leave it. Don't touch it." And I'm like,
That's
but yeah,
funny.
they definitely in during COVID, my friends and I we would connect and we would paint online, and so yeah, I am very fortunate in that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Meg, I don't think you're alone in the fact that I in not having an immediate kind of friends and family community who are crafters, 'cause I don't either. Well, my husband's very, very supportive, so he's really all I need, but in terms of, my brothers, we're all very technical. Kinda like Dalis, I come from a computer science, mathematics, engineering kind of background, and so too are all of my brothers. So the whole like creative stuff is a little bit different. I have one brother who's an amazing artist and illustrator. So he's artistic, not crafty. You know what I mean? And my
Mhm.
mom sews,
Yeah.
so and she does a lot of like needle kind of crochet needlework kind of stuff. So she gets being like crafty in the sense of like handmade stuff. So she really appreciates that. And they all appreciate it, but they don't get it the way crafters get it. Like, why are two different shades of pink different, and what makes one perfect but the other not? So it's very, nuanced, and I feel like other crafters are the ones who understand you the best.
I
So
know. Like when your husband, I need some gold thread, and he was like, "Don't you have gold thread?" Yes, but the one that I have is too thick, and the other one is too thin. And he's like, "But they're both threads, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, but there's an in between that I need because for this project, it needs to be a certain gauge."
yeah. It's very true. It's very true. I see somebody's joining us from Facebook, but I can't see your name. So if you can go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give StreamYard permission, then I will be able to see. But hello and welcome. um, so that's cool. So you would say the thing that you kind of value most from your design team experience that you didn't expect going into it was the friendships and the people connections that you formed. So if on the flip side of that, by the way, Delise knows these questions are coming. We're not surprising her by these. Um, what is your least favorite thing about being on the design team that you may not have expected going in?
The least. So this one is more like challenge blogs, and this happens a lot in digital scrapbooking. You have a quota that you need to meet.
Mhm.
Like you need, and what I mean is like a quota of feedback. So you need to leave, I don't know, for one of my digital scrapbooking DTs, I need to leave 500 comments a month.
What? You
Yeah.
have to leave 500 comments or you have to get 500 comments on your posts?
No, I have to leave 500 comments to the people in the community and when they share their projects.
Really?
Yeah. And when
That's a
you're like in
thing?
I know when you're in challenge blogs, you have to leave like that. Let's say that 100 people comment and there's five people, then you gotta leave comments for at least 20 to 25 of those people. Like they split them.
Wow.
So everyone gets at least one comment saying thank you for participating. We'd love
Right.
to have you at our blog challenge or blah 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 blah. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that is what is because I love leaving comments, but I feel once you get a number to it, like you're attached to a number, you tend to get a lot of oh great job, and not that I would do that, but
Copy paste.
I see it and that upsets me. I'm like, mm. But I get it. It's time consuming.
Right. It's
Yeah.
hard to be authentic when
Yeah.
when you have to leave so many.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I would love that aspect of, design team obligations either. Um Well, that's more in the challenge blog world. What about, design teams where maybe it's more like a company or a brand?
Um, I think people not being professional.
Okay.
I I I believe that you should always be professional in every part of your life, like and respectful, and I think those two go hand in hand. To me, you cannot. There is no way you can be professional if you're disrespectful towards anyone.
Yeah.
Period.
And are you referring, without giving any names or anything, are you
Yeah.
referring to, design team, um, people who are on design teams, or more like people who might leave maybe negative comments, on a video or a post? Is it more the crafty community not being kind of nice and professional when they're leaving you what they might consider constructive comments, but really just seems a little hurtful? Or are you meaning in terms of, like, design team, members and owners?
I think both. I was referring to very general. Like I've seen people leave comments on. I think people think because they are in the big web that you're kind of anonymous, but then don't go leaving comments like that and then expect people to take you seriously when you're submitting for a DT because we know who you are. And also, I think um, when you have DTs, like a lot of drama and behind the scenes on a DT, it's just like I already have drama in my life. I don't need the extra drama on top of it. No, I pass. So I think
Yeah.
those.
So, here's my question to you, though,
Okay.
because there's often I hear that a lot, like, somebody who's on the design team, there's an expectation of being professional, but at the end of the day, this is our hobby. So, that's we're professional all day at our jobs, at our work, like, and we're choosing to do this crafting as a hobby.
Yeah.
Can't we all just, what is the phrase? Kind of put down our hairs a little, and or do we also have to maintain that professionalism as content creators and designers, as, design team members? Um,
Mhm.
what's your thought on
Yeah.
that? Because it's not a job. I mean, it is a job, but it isn't a job. We're not getting paid in the sense that you're gonna be able to pay any bills, most teams. So,
No,
you do get
I
compensated. You
agree
do get
100%.
compensated, usually in product,
Yeah.
but, what are your thoughts on that? Like, because
Yeah,
certainly,
I know,
I
and
think a
I
lot
don't
of th
think that I don't. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say a lot of what you described, I feel like somebody would not do at their job, but
Yes.
being a design team member, it's a weird gray area where it's a job in the sense of there's responsibilities and expectations, but it's not a job in the sense
Yeah.
that, you sat down, you interviewed, had an interview loop. You you're getting you're getting a paycheck, you're getting, taxes on that paycheck.
Oh no,
So
100. I agree with you. Yes, and I think it also. I think it's just that I've seen it coming from um owners, and I think it's just the state. It's just it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth because
Mhm.
if they're talking bad about other owners or other DPs or customers, then you go like, oh my god, what are they gonna say about me once I leave?
Mm.
Um, which you know what, whatever you say, it's okay. But I get it because let's be realistic. You know me a little bit. I may I may just might be a little sailor sometimes and be swearing left and right when things are not when things are not going my way.
Yeah, okay. So, because I
Just
always find
know
that
where people are.
yeah. Well, I think it's especially true that if you are a store owner and you run a DT that there definitely needs to be a degree of professionalism there because for you that's a job. Um, for
Mhm.
design team members, I don't know where I land on that. I just find it curious because there are a lot of interactions I've seen where I'm like, I don't know that you would react that way if we were in an office setting. So why are
Yeah.
you reacting that way here? But then I think about it and I'm
Mhm.
like, well, you're reacting that way here because we're just two people, and people
Yeah.
have feelings. So
Yes.
I can't hold that against somebody who's just, having their feelings and reacting to it. So that's where I feel like it's because I would much rather have the genuine, relationships and interactions. But to your
Yeah.
point, um, because this is our free time, we don't want drama in our free time.
Yeah.
So
No
it's
drama
no
free.
drama. So Cordelia has joined us, and I popped over on Facebook. It looked like Sandy joined us. I don't know if she's still here, but welcome, Cordelia and Sandy, if you are still here. Meg says, agreed, Lynn. Sometimes the pressure to fully integrate into the DT format can be very stressful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Jay makes a good point. So Jay says, I think it's a small enough community that if you went off on someone, it would probably reflect badly on you. Yeah. Oh, good. Cordelia is still here. Um, yeah, Jay, that's very true. And Marla gave us some really good advice in Let's Talk Design Teams Part 1, where if you've had a bad experience with an individual on a particular team, whatever the case may be, bear in mind that everybody's experience with that individual or that team is going to be different. And so what's good for them may not be good for you and vice versa. But it doesn't do you or anybody any good to be sharing, any negative feelings because it is a small community. Design team, store owners, talk and they have their own community. And so there's you should be aware of whatever reputation you want to cultivate. So,
Yeah.
it's you're not in a bubble. You're in a glass fish tank with lots of fish there who, all interact with each other and so it's better to just, you may have your obviously friends and family, of course, find an outlet to talk and to voice those frustrations, voice those feelings, but you know, in public or with other folks you may not be quite as close to, maybe be a little bit more diplomatic about how you frame things, especially since and you said this too, it's more, take I remember from design team part 2, you were saying your advice was take take out the personal feelings if you're going to retell anything and just stick to the
Yep.
facts, like, that are more or less, indisputable. Don't make it personal. Take your feelings out of it and um just lay out the facts and let people draw their own conclusions from that. You don't have to uh add additional color commentary on top.
Yeah.
Brian has joined us. So Brian says hi to you and me as well. Hi, Brian.
Hi,
Um
Brian.
So, okay, so it does sound, because I would imagine with, 20 years of design team experience that it hasn't been all, good for you, right? You've seen your fair share of both sides.
There's been a little bit of everything. There's been
Yeah.
amazing experiences, and there has been um I'm so sorry. I just read Cynthia's comment in Facebook. Hi there, I'm at work.
Oh, who is this? It just says Facebook user.
Yeah, Cynthia.
Oh,
Paula.
okay. Oh, welcome. That's funny.
Um, yeah, I've
Don't worry, we won't
seen
tell
a little
anyone.
bit of everything, but I think in all of your experience you learn. Like sometimes like there's some experiences that I went like, I should have seen those red flags. But you know what? There was this activity at school, which was fantastic. Yeah, I work at a high school, and they were writing this month it's dedicated to um, abuse abuse. You know how to recognize it, how to ask for help. Um, so they did a presentation, and kids wrote down little snippets of what they thought. And one thing that really struck with me was that when you have this kid wrote, when you have your pink glasses on, that everything is nice and pink, you do not see red flags.
Hmm.
And to me, that was like mind blowing. Yes, when you're in that happy place, sometimes you don't want to see the red flags. And I
Mhm.
think I have learned to like try to step a little bit back and say, is that a red flag? Was that person just having a bad day? You know, because we are all entitled to having a bad day.
Yeah.
Um, but that quote from that high schooler just blew my mind.
Yeah, so how would you, just to follow up on that a little bit, have you been in situations on a design team that, um I don't wanna say regret, because 'cause you've said that you've learned from those experience, whether they were good or bad, but just that you maybe feel you would have done differently or handled differently?
Oh yeah, I've been in those positions. But I would I have handled stuff differently? Of course. I think you always have room for improvement, right? Um, would would I give a second chance to those teams? I don't know. I would have
Hmm,
to be in a state of mind that is different to the one that I'm right now.
mhm,
Um, I think I'm in a state of mind where I believe I 100% think that mental health is super important, and
yeah,
whatever doesn't make you happy, just take it out.
yeah. So, can I assume that maybe you've stayed on teams
Yep.
longer than you think you should've or
Yes,
would
I think
now?
so. Here's the thing. I am a lot to handle. You can ask my husband. I am a lot to handle. Now, if you ever need someone, I will be there. I
Yeah.
am that person that might not notice that I am putting 80% into the equation and the other person is just putting 20.
Hmm. Oh, interesting.
And I'm giving way too much for maybe a interaction like that is just not necessarily what I wanted. So I'm
Mhm.
putting so much more. Like I think I'm helping that person, but that person not necessarily cares
Hmm.
or
This
sees
is
it
like
themselves.
this is like
Yeah.
good life lessons, not just
Yes.
design team.
Yeah.
But if we bring it back to design teams, then can I put it in this context and let me know if you would agree
Okay.
or with the sentiment? So, would you say that as a designer on a design team that you should benefit from that relationship as much as maybe the design team owner benefits, so that there's sort of an equivocal balanced relationship of, let's just say for example, you're going to make something that highlights their products, and um and you're going to help promote it, but you know do you expect the company to promote you just as much as you're promoting them? Or, is that just part of our job to be that marketing voice or channel for the company?
I think your job is to promote the company. Yes. I think it's amazing for those companies that know how important a design team is for them and that they actually show it as presenting them as their ambassadors, as the people that are really selling your stuff. Without a design team, these people don't have how to sell the products, right?
Mhm.
So I think that yes, you should. There should be a give and a take. I think there's the companies should do at least a minimum to help support and promote those design team members because the more views these people do, the more views they have, the more the shorts are showing up into Instagram or TikTok or whatever, the more your product is being seen. So
Yeah.
yeah, I see some companies that, like, let's say that they are doing a prize, right? And they're doing a hop or something, and they only take comments from the the manufacturer or the company social media. Why would I, as a customer, go visit these other 10 stops if
Yeah.
the one that is going to get me a chance
It's
to
just from
arrive
the company. Oh,
is the
interesting.
company? And I think things like that, that there is a give and a take. And I think it's respect. It's just it's showing your respect and your admiration for your design team members.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's one way that store owners, design team owners can show that they value their team, like you're saying, and there's value for them in doing it too. So it's also a bit of a win-win because they're getting more inspiration put out there. So Amalia wants to ask you, Dalis, what are your red flags? You talked a little bit about just you know, y- retrospectively, you should have seen that particular thing as a warning sign or a red flag. I know you don't want to, we shouldn't be going into this, specific, especially no names and whatnot, but is there anything that you could share that um, might be helpful to other folks who are on design teams thinking about getting onto design teams who maybe should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, so Amelia, I think some red flags are requirements not being out there like upfront, and that the requirements are not the same for everyone in the team. Like I get
Mm,
it, like a a video team might have a different requirement setup than a blog team. But let's say you have four blog team people, right? All four of those people should have the same type of requirements.
yeah.
Like some of them should not be allowed to do some things or not have to do some things just
Yeah.
because maybe that person was my friend, or
Right.
maybe she's related to me. Like if you're doing, I think everyone, yeah, everyone, I think that is one red flag that maybe people don't see. The other one is like that things are not written down. I think not only like if you get a contract, I think contracts should be visible for everyone to
Mm,
know what they're supposed to be doing. And it should be upfront, it should be out there, it should be part of the entire team. Like
yeah.
the contract for a video team. Like these are the things that you have to do. These are the contracts for people in Instagram. These are the contracts. Like I think having things wishy-washy, I want to call,
Mhm.
and that are maybe too flexible, benefiting some people and not others, those are red flags for me.
That's a really good point because that's something that I think, um, you just never because it's hard to know, if people are being treated differently, but I like your point of just ensuring or just having transparency
Yeah,
in the sense of what is expected from
yeah,
everybody and, what is, uh, a benefit because I think on both ends, like, it feels like, everybody should be getting the same thing, or if not, then it should we should know, like, well, what are people getting just in terms of keeping things fair, right? And keeping the workload fair, and when those things are transparently and openly communicated, then you know that there's less chance of something going on behind the scenes
yeah,
where
yeah,
different people are being asked, to your point, like, to do something or not do something or have, extra this or less of that, and so I think I never thought about it, nor have I ever looked for it, but you're absolutely right that without that, transparency, it doesn't mean that anything shady is going on. But when you have that level of transparency, I think there is some comfort. I've never like pinpointed it, but there is some comfort of trust in
yeah,
the management or the leadership of the team because often I find that, like you said, if it's written down, then I feel like it's a team that communicates well
yeah.
and
Agree.
and that they communicate openly.
Hmm.
And I feel and Danny has said this so much that communication is
Yeah,
the key to a lot of what it takes to make it work. So, whether that's if you feel in the dark, ask questions, and Sandy and Jamie have said in part 3 of the design team series that they want you to ask questions. They don't expect you to know everything. And so it's when you can see signs of like good communication, I think those are
yeah,
good signs. And when you see signs of backdoor conversations, or because sometimes you can tell that if there has been a backdoor
yeah.
conversation and people are referring to things that you're like, what? I don't, when
What are
was
they
that?
about?
I wasn't told that.
So one in one group that I was for digital scrapbooking, I remember this designer asked me to join her team. It wasn't a call. She just asked me. She liked that. my out of the box ideas. So and I was super busy, but I love her designs, and I told her I would love to be in your team, but I can't. And this is why. I don't have the time to work with your requirements. Your requirements are too much for me right now. And she said, well, what if you work with whenever you're in the mood? And I'm like, well, I don't think that's fair to call me a design team member and just I get to pick and choose. So
Mm.
we agreed on having a different term for me in her team. So I was a freelancer for her. Is
Oh,
what we call.
okay.
Yeah, so I was a freelancer, and I had a different state of stipulations. Like I wasn't downloading left and right. I only downloaded what I needed, and I still had like if I download, I have to use it by a certain time of day, but I didn't have to create with everything that she made. So I think it's just again back into communication. It's just about being fair and being fair. Um, you want to be fair also to the rest of your team.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's good that you just on the side of being on the design team was cognizant of how others might feel um, about you kind of having different set of um,
Yeah.
expectations or um, you know uh, goodies that you got and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So very that's I mean, because I think it shouldn't matter, but I think it does, right? Because we all want to feel like we're being kind of treated equally, and it's hard when maybe there are some perceived, whether it's true or not, but perceived favorites.
Yes.
So, because I think we all want to be liked. Okay, so was there anything else on that? Were there any other red flags that you wanted to maybe share?
I, I think that communication is just most important thing. The other is that if you're in a team, I know some teams have like a very quick turnaround. Know yourself. Can you have a quick turnaround? I think for some people that might be a red flag. Like if you're receiving something today and the release is in less than a week, 3, 5
Yeah.
days, can you really like is that something workable for you? So that might be a red flag for you. To me, having a deadline approaching is the most satisfying thing. Like I leave things maybe sometimes too close to the date because it gets me. It completely makes my brain think in a different way.
You're
So
so funny.
the way I work.
Don't I know it, Dalis? I've been on
I
a team with you before. Like, Dalis, upload your photo. The
upload
hop
your.
is tomorrow.
I'm like yeah 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 yeah. I'm like I'm almost done.
um, there's one thing that I would say in terms of red flags is more of an internal one, which is that if you feel like okay, so I don't know if I'm gonna be explaining this right, but especially if you are on multiple teams, if you find yourself like really eager to work on one team's projects because it's just lighting up different ideas for you and you're so excited, you can't wait to dive into the product. And then, but maybe your deadline for that is like a month out, but you still want to do it now
Yeah
versus you have another design team obligation that's due in a week and you're dragging your feet finding every excuse to do anything but really check in with yourself in terms of does this work still bring me joy.
yeah.
And I feel
You have
like
to track speed for more than 2 releases in a row, you might not be in the right team.
Yeah, I mean, because it's one of those things where, like, the, you know how sometimes people say, the minute your hobby becomes your job, there's some it takes the joy out of it. And
Yeah,
we've touched on this a little bit, like, being on the design team has often been kind of equated to a job because there's some real obligations, there's some real compensation. It may not always be monetary, but you're getting something of value. And so, there's, real expectations that you deliver. And so I would say as a red flag to kind of, be on the lookout for is, and you've said this too, is your own mental state.
yeah.
So are you finding joy with the crafting for that particular brand? Are you finding joy with the people that you're interacting with on that particular team? So it's the whole breadth of how do you kind of mentally feel about
Yeah.
that experience as a whole? Whether it's you may love the people, but the products aren't bringing you that excitement and that joy anymore, or vice versa. Like, you love the product, you can't wait to dive in every time, but maybe the interactions with the people bring you down and take energy, like, they suck energy from you rather than, like, give you, that energy where you enjoy those experiences.
In the crafting community, things move so fast.
Mm.
Like there is a new trend every time you breathe. Like I feel like not too long ago it was all about slimlines. Slimlines, slimlines, slimlines. Like they were like all over the place, right? And I've had an experience that I joined a team and because I loved their stuff, and unfortunately at the same time that I was joining the team, they were letting they were moving away from the designer that was designing for them, and they were getting a new designer, and the new designer I did not I could not, like, it was just not my jam. And the other thing that I liked about that company was that they did really cool die cutting systems and die cutting, and they stopped doing them. So I was like, oh my god, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I literally, like, as soon as I got the first release, I was like, okay, I need to say something. And I told I was like, you know, I really enjoy the designer that you had before, and this is why I applied, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Explained it. I'm like, I have no problem. I'm gonna use for this release, but I would love to step down if that is okay with you, and for you guys to find someone that can actually like feature your products the way they need to be featured.
Oh,
Hmm.
that's so big of you. That's very adult, Delise.
Well, there was no way I could have survived 6 months of that. Like
Yeah. You gotta know your
it,
limitations. That's part of
yeah,
knowing your limitations, I think.
it was gonna make me unhappy every time one of those boxes would arrive. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, it's and that's exactly what I mean. It's just one of those things where, like, you have to, yeah, we're kind of doing it as our, obligation as a design team member, but there's aspects of this that's still your hobby, and so you should
mhm,
still find joy. And I think when you are in that state where it's a good balance of you love the people, you love the product, that's gonna be where you're gonna shine the best, and that's where your
yeah.
best work is gonna come as well. If you're kind of
Oh,
dragging your feet, just getting it done to get it done, I don't know that you'll always be putting, you know, 100% of yourself out
yeah.
there. And maybe that's just me. Everybody's definitely different, but I've
And
definitely found that.
something very important is that you need to value your time. So let's
Yeah.
say that you are applying for a DT because sometimes what it's in the application and the requirements that are posted is not what you get, It's not the same
Well,
flavor of ice yet,
yeah, that's
right?
true.
And, and they start asking for more and more and more. And it, like, value your time. Your time is worth money. So if you think it gets to too much, communicate that. Like, if you are dedicating way too many hours for a company that is just providing you something that is not worth the time that you're putting into it, and it's like, you need to communicate something. Like, make
Yeah.
sure that you value your time because you're valuable.
Yeah, and I think that's a good uh other red flag to look for is if the requirements seem to keep changing or what's being asked of you seems to keep changing and because there's if you signed up under one set of like an
Hmm.
understanding of one set of expectations in terms of deliverables and whatnot, and then all of a sudden that changes, then definitely say something like Delise was saying because sometimes it's just the exception that, yeah, we just need to ride this out for now, but, like, once we're past this, then things will go back to the normal routine of things. So don't hold it against just have that it's that communication that's key
Yeah.
because just because something happens the one time, that doesn't mean it's gonna be perpetually like that. So,
Yeah.
if there's something that doesn't sit right with you, just have the conversation, understand where that's coming from and whether you think that that's gonna be like a regular thing, especially like you were saying, quick turnaround times. Like maybe there's
Hmm.
some delays in manufacturing, and that
Yeah.
means people's products are gonna land in your hands a little bit close to the deadline, but that's not the ideal that anybody is aiming for.
Hmm.
So, have that conversation. Just say, is this how it's always going to be? Or is there a way that we could get stuff earlier? And then maybe you'll understand where the store owners are coming from. And they'll tell you, no, this is not how it usually is. There's, some shipping delays or what have you. So then you get to have that bit of understanding. So I like Yvette's comment here. She says, "Don't assume the worst." And that's
Yeah.
so true because I think a lot of times, I sometimes have that tendency of just assuming the worst, because you wanna be prepared for that worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Um, but that's why, I know Danny's not here, but that's why good communication is,
Yeah.
she always comes back to that. That's why good communication is the key because it will clear up any assumptions that you may have or any misunderstandings, or it may validate some of your assumptions, and that's good to know too. It's good to know either
Yeah.
way. So, that also, by the way, I don't know if you saw in the comments, Delise, but you have other fans in the chat who are last minute ladies as well. So Meg says she often leaves things to the last minute. Terry says, I swear we must be related. So they need that deadline to really spark that creative juice. So Yvette also earlier said that she loves the interactions with fellow creators. Yeah, that's absolutely one of my favorite aspects of being
Hmm.
on design teams. And she said, I'm truly enjoying the teams I am currently a part of. The products and people bring me joy. So I will continue as long as I still enjoy what I'm doing. And that's key. I'm so glad that you're on teams that you enjoy, especially
Hmm.
since I'm on some teams with you. So,
Yeah.
uh, uh, but I'm glad that you do see it from that perspective of, that melding of I love the product, I love the people, it's all making me happy. Um, so that's awesome. And Alyssa has joined us. Hi, Alisa, welcome. So awesome. Okay, I know we spent some time on that, but I feel it's enlightening to kind of hear your perspective on because we want to avoid it, right? So if you've gone through it, and you can maybe save somebody else from going through maybe a bad experience, then that's what all of this is for, is so that we can
Yeah.
help each other to you know have good experiences, maybe see the early warning signs of what could be not so great experiences, and just things to be on the lookout for. It's just to take off those rose colored shades, right? And to
Yeah.
just have a very honest look at a
Mhm.
situation for what it is. So let's go to our next question, and we're about to wrap up. Only a couple questions left. So folks who are joining live, if you do have questions for Dalis, then do aim to get them in soonish here. Yeah. Okay, so Dalis, how would you describe your ideal design team? So
Okay.
thoughts on that?
So actually, there is a couple of teams out there that are like in my I would love to be part of it. One of them, I almost cried when I noticed that my application bounced back, because to me that team is like, so they're full of mixed media, and but they also have cute stamps, and they have mixed media, like they have a little bit of everything, and they
Mhm.
have sprays, and they have powders, and they have mica, and they have water. Like these people, they do it all
Hmm.
on a
Interesting.
big umbrella. So when I saw their call, I was like, oh my God. Not that I made it. I'm like, could have happened, could have not. But I know for sure it didn't help that my that I wrote .cm instead of .com in their email address.
Oh. So your application never went through?
My application never went through.
Well, that seems like that would be tip number 1 when you're applying to design teams. Get the email address right.
Get the email address correct. I
Oh. Oh,
so
how disheartening.
it really hurt me. I was so bummed out.
Oh.
But that was like, they do it all, and their team is so diverse. It's like, even though that they do it all, they have the cutesy, they have the clean and simple, they have the mixed media, they have the person that floats from all of it. I'm like, it's magical.
Okay, so you're looking for a design team, well, a company slash brand really that has a wide variety of different product as well as different styles.
Hmm.
Well, that's good because that makes sense for you as a crafter because you're not in any box. So I could totally see why you would really enjoy having such diversity because you're a diverse crafter. You're very, um, like we said, very at the top of this stream, you don't have a style that, you know, can really anyone can like draw a circle around or a square around.
Mhm.
And I think many of the crafters in the chat have agreed that it's as creators, as crafters, it's nice to dabble in a lot of different things, and we are in a lot of ways kind of creative spirits, and so just if you have a lot of different things to work with, it's gonna spark different ideas. So
Yeah.
so good. Kind of cool to know what you're looking for in terms of so that's in terms of like the product that you would love to ideally work for with. In terms of like a team dynamic, do you have idea, do you have something that you would consider an ideal either structure or just in terms of just the mechanics of a design team? Like,
I
do you like, you know, deadlines? Do you like really chatty design team that talks a lot? Do you like more quiet teams? Things like that.
I I truly believe in the two chat system. One chat for chattiness and one chat for business.
Okay. I was like, "What is the two chat system?"
The two chat system, because I am super chatty and I always gonna be chatting, doesn't matter what time in the day. But I want to be able to have a chat where I can go and say, okay, yeah, it's May. This is what needs to happen in May,
Yeah.
and I don't want to have to be looking 10 places to find it.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you like to have order and communication in one place, but have a more casual, place to interact that's separate so
Yeah.
that you don't have to filter through the chat to get to the important nuggets
Yeah.
to do your responsibility or obligations as a DT. That makes sense.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Okay. So now our last question, we're going to spend a little bit of time here just because we are in the season of DT calls. Because the original question was, what is your number one tip for anyone who is thinking about joining a DT? But I think given that there are so many design team calls out there right now, um, maybe it makes sense to go through your top 5, and I'll read them out to you because I have them on my phone here. So and then maybe you can
Okay.
expound on them a little bit. You've already talked about this, already, but your number 1 was to make sure you love 90% of their product. Just for anyone who's joining us late, can you just briefly recap why that's important? Why that's your number 1?
So I think that you do your best work with something that you enjoy doing, right? So you want to make sure that you truly love what this company is about. If this company is about, there's a few companies out there that are all about faith based, and that is your jam. 100% go for it, because you need to love what they're creating so you can love what you're putting out.
Okay, so follow-up question for
Uh-huh.
you, Dalis.
Mhm.
Can you love a company's products if you have never purchased and used their products before?
Okay. That
So I'm asking
is,
that the under between the lines question is, should I be applying to a design team if I've never crafted with or bought their products ever?
and my answer is yes, because maybe they are out of your reach in terms of how to get your hands on it, price wise, but you follow them. You know the product. I think the most important thing is that you need to know what the company is all about, what their product is all about, what they're pushing. Are they like Mama Elephant? They're pushing cutie all the way out, and I am 100% after it. Like I love everything that they release. Like they release it, and I go like, oh my god. It might be another set of adorable dogs, but I need that new set of adorable dogs. So know what your company is marketing, because that is very important. If you believe that you can be good at what they're marketing, which is something cute or something related to faith, then yeah, 100% go for it.
Okay. I agree with you 100%. I've been on teams where I have never bought their product, but to your point, I went to their online store. I looked at everything that they put out there to understand whether I could craft with that. Whether like if I look at something, I'm like, oh, I could do that, could do, and like 3 or 4 ideas come to my head of what or how I would color something or how I would use that particular die set, but maybe in a different way, blah blah blah. Then I always think, oh yeah. I mean, because the thing is that as small as the craft community is, there are always brands that, I've never heard of. And so you can't be expected to know every brand that exists out there. But
Yeah.
once you see their product and you're like, "Oh, I would buy that up in a minute,"
Oh
in a
yeah.
hot minute, then I feel like, it's not, and it's very you just have to know that you may not get chosen because some companies do look for people who are already using their products. But I don't think, the subtext behind my question was,
Yeah.
should you still apply if you've never crafted with their product? I don't think it hurts to kind of throw your hat in the ring, because you don't know what design team owners are looking for. Some design team owners are looking for talent and a particular style or a particular what have you, and they recognize that you can apply that talent to any, to their product because maybe you've applied it to similar products, who knows, right? And
Mhm.
other people really want to see somebody who's already passionate about their brand. And and so they're looking for people who are already crafting with their products. So you just never know what folks are looking for. Okay, so
Yeah.
your number 2 on your top 5 was to make sure you are able to meet the responsibilities. So maybe can you expound on that a little bit?
So if your one of your responsibilities is you need to create shorts for Instagram and you don't know how to create shorts, this is not the DT for you. Um, it's sometimes it's quite simple. People get so excited they don't read the requirements in
Mm, mhm.
that are posted, and some of them are like very specific. Like I remember, one of them was like they must know how to use WordPress, and because all the work was being done in their blog, WordPress is I love it. That is what I use for my blog, but it's not easy to use
Mhm.
in terms like there's tricky parts on how to manage it. Um,
Yeah.
so check those requirements. Do you really you can like are you 100% saying, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I can create 10 projects a month. Like can
Yeah.
you? Yeah, can you like just because the excitement of applying for the team and maybe even saying, "Oh, nobody's gonna pick me." What did they do?
Yeah, that's true. So, okay, so then question to you then.
Yes.
Um, because let's say that um I don't have okay, so for your example with shorts, let's say, yeah, I've made a couple, is that enough to apply to a team that's looking, let's say I've made a couple, but and I'm very dedicated to learning. And I am actively trying to get better at it. Is that uh
So that should be part of your verbose in your application.
okay.
You should be, I have done a couple of shorts. I really enjoy making them. I am willing to learn. Because
Okay.
that might be okay for someone, but some other company might need you to hit the road and go running,
Mhm.
you know?
Okay. Because everybody has to start somewhere. So,
Yeah.
so that's my question is that if I'm not like overly experienced in an area, but I'm actively working at it, I'm actively learning, I'm putting, I'm sharing, I'm making content. Um should I be applying to design teams as I'm learning, or should I feel like I have a degree of expertise developed already and then apply?
I think it's hard to say, like, you have a degree of expertise. So let's look at that. How many times have they changed what format the shorts are gonna come out? Like,
Yeah.
it's constantly changing. So I think it's just terms of being open and communicating. I really love this. I think I'm good at it. I enjoyed it. Did you really enjoy it? So make sure that you ask those questions because there's some, like, I love making my videos, sitting down and editing videos. It's kind of a little bit boring because
Yeah,
you listen
and
to
time
yourself
consuming.
like 100 times. You listen to the same sentence and you go like, something off. What
Yep.
is this? the
Been
same the
there.
same the same 30 second, and you're like, what is off with this video? Because you can see it, you can feel it, but so think of it again. What is going to bring you joy? Do you really think you can do it, and it brings you joy? Go for it.
Yeah. So Jay made a really good comment, and this might be your clue as to whether somebody's willing, like Dalis said, to take on somebody who is learning. So Jay said a lot of design team postings I've seen are more explicit about if they are accepting quote up and coming,
Yeah.
and folks who are learning or not. And I will say though, Jay, that, I agree that's a good thing to be looking out for
Hmm.
because it does give you a little bit of a sense if they are looking for folks that may be a little bit more green. And the other thing that I see quite often is, no design team experience necessary. That might be
Yeah.
another, hey, that's a team that maybe they are willing to kind of mentor, coach, and train, and are willing to take on somebody who might not have as much experience as somebody who's been on multiple design teams for 20 plus years, like Delise here. But um, I will also, though, just Jay, a lot of times the up and coming is actually referring not necessarily to your expertise on a given, thing, but more like the size of your social media platform. Because a lot of times, I won't speak for others, but when I was first applying to design teams, I got rejected left, right, and center. But I also only had maybe 100, followers or subscribers, and I only had maybe, 6 months of a history of posting, for example. And I realized through those rejections that, I just don't have enough of a history, and I just don't have enough of a, large enough of a platform to really show that I'm working hard at these things. And I think Sandy and Jamie said it on Design Team Part 3 that when they're looking, because their design team is hand selected by invitation only. They
Hansel.
don't do open calls. But they do look when they are looking to see how long of a history of posting do you have? Because if they sign you onto their team, they want you there for the long haul. They
Yeah.
wanna make sure that you're not like a flash in the pan, that you're gonna get bored in 6, to 8 weeks and, can't keep up. So if you have a nice long history of putting out whatever it is, videos, posts, whatever. Because when I was first starting to grow my YouTube channel, I posted very, very sporadically, and while I did have, video editing skills, audio editing skills, it didn't have a track record of actually putting out content on a regular basis. And so if you're going to be
Yeah.
applying to design teams that have a video team that you want to be a part of, you need to demonstrate that you're kind of um able to kind of produce content on a schedule, on the regular. So a lot of the up and coming should be interpreted as not so much like, oh, you need to have like 10,000 subscribers or followers, but more that like you've shown that you are like actively putting content out there and doing it regularly, doing it consistently at, a consistent high quality, even if your subscriber numbers or your follower numbers don't necessarily show, a large number, that's okay. Like, they don't really mind that, but they wanna be able to make sure that you can handle the workload and,
Yeah.
um, that you're there for the long haul. So your number 3 was, and this one I thought was interesting actually. So your number 3 was check that you weren't on teams with the same release schedule. So tell us about that and why that's important.
Okay, so especially if they are teams or companies that are small and the products are coming late on a very like short amount of span in terms of receiving and creating and having to have ready something. If you have two, three releases the same week and you got all of your products 3 to 5 days before the two or three releases, you will not be happy.
Okay.
Um, that is a lot of work, especially if you're gonna be doing social media content like video editing, shorts, which required and like I love Jay's shorts because believe it or not, it's what 30, 60, or 90 seconds. It requires such a different mentality
Yeah.
in what you keep after recording 15 minutes. What do
It's
you
harder
keep?
in some ways.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
What do you keep? What do you cut? So it looks flawless and it makes sense in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Like it's a completely different monster.
I definitely agree. There's a very different mentality. This is a little bit of a segue, but yeah, shorts
Mm,
versus long form. There's I mean, shorts sometimes are easier to do the actual videoing in a lot of ways, but it's more like you really have to direct it. Like,
mhm.
you have to visualize because it needs to be snappy. And
Yeah,
so I think the just in terms of like being creative in how you present and really like direct each cut kind of, like is a much different beast than just it may be harder or take longer to edit or produce a long form video, but you just, turn the camera on and you make your thing and then you
yeah.
edit it and then you do your voiceover. It's a little there's no like, oh, I need to do this sort of transition into this thing and I need to show this part, but this other part of the process not important, so I can like leave that out. So I hear you. I hear.
Imagine having to do that for, let's say, three different teams for the same week, but you just got them 5 days ago, and each team has at least 1 to 2 stamp set, and so it makes sure that your workload is balanced in throughout the month. It really helps.
Yeah, that's so smart because I never think about that, but you're absolutely right in the sense of landing where I've landed. There's definitely, uh, especially I appreciate the companies that do have, like, a very regimented release schedule and very
Hmm.
predictable one because you can really plan your calendar around that and you can plan your time around that, which I think is really important for crafters who don't, do this full time, who still have
Hmm.
to do a day job. I'm at least grateful that my day job is pretty flexible. I work from home, and so, if I need to sneak a break in to do some crafting, I can. Less, so for you, where you have to go to a school and physically be somewhere else away from your
Yeah.
craft room. So you're absolutely right though, because if you have a lot of company design team requirements that release at the beginning of the month,
Yeah.
if anything happens and you get something late, you're gonna be very crunched, and that's gonna be very stressful.
Very
Um,
stressful.
and a lot of times you can tell if you are signed up for their newsletters and things like that, what their release cycle is. And
Mhm.
so, you may not
Again,
always be able to.
you gotta do your research about the company that you're applying to.
Yes, absolutely. That is part of the research. And it's one I never look at, but I will be from now on. So thank you for that tip. Okay, so uh your number 4 is to sell yourself. Your application should be a really good performance review. So, tell us a little bit about that and why is that important? And where is the line between selling yourself and being overly confident and maybe cocky?
So here's the deal. When again, I was a computer engineer many years ago, and the first time I had to do a performance review, I thought it was the worst day of my job because you know they teach you to be humble at home. People teach you to be humble, to not be showcasing everything that you did, and
Yeah.
then lo and behold comes the performance review, and you need to write your own performance review. You need to tell your boss how awesome you are, so you get a really good either a raise or you keep your job. This could be it's a nerve wracking. So I my first boss, she told me, you will never be cocky in a performance review.
Oh,
You
interesting.
go, yeah, she was like, you go all out because if you
Oh,
believe it, the other person will.
yeah. Okay. So no such thing as being
That's what I was taught when I was what 22, and I still, to me that's the worst part. Like to write in the DT application, sometimes I have like a blurb that I have in my folder, and I was like, oh, that blurb ended up nice, so I'll save it and I'll send
Mhm.
it to the next DT application if
Yeah, of
they.
course. Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you need to sell yourself. Like there is, for every one of you, there's probably 12 more that are selling themselves all the way.
Yeah.
So you need to stand out.
That's a really good point, and I think that for me, I think it's important to, and Jay said this too, and you have as well, is to be, know your strengths, sell those
Mhm.
strengths. If you are reaching a little bit beyond, where you're at, then just be honest also.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever you're doing, you have to be 100% honest about your own assessment of your skill level, but you
Yeah.
do have to have confidence in where you're at, in your crafty journey, because everybody's at a different point in their journey. And I feel like the thing about kind of selling yourself is that no one else is going to. So
No.
your application, yes, your work will speak for itself in a lot of ways, right? But in terms of, answering whatever questions that they have, um, they're only going to hear that from you.
Mhm.
So it's not like they're going to be calling up references on you.
No.
So so, it's your one opportunity to sell yourself, advocate for yourself, because no one else is going to in this
Mhm.
context. And so, just I would say though is to focus on one or two strengths. Don't I wouldn't list like a laundry list of things you're superb at,
No.
because
Mhm.
I don't think it's believable that,
Yeah.
So just, focus on the things that you enjoy doing, that you love to do, that you feel like you're really great at, and the value that you can bring, and, really hit on those, and pick, if you're asked to kind of submit projects to go along with that, pick the projects that showcase that, and that demonstrate those strengths.
Yes.
So, I think that you know, I've never heard anyone say that that you could never oversell yourself. So it's kind of nice to hear you say that. Um and I would just throw in there that um definitely don't put anything in there that you don't think you can do. Like, don't
And
overestimate what you're capable
one
of, because you might get it and then be asked to do that.
and I think one thing is to sell yourself in terms of your potential and what you can do. And another one is never ever compare yourself to somebody else's work in a DT application.
Yeah.
Like no. So so like oh like yeah, I have better moves than Beyonce, okay? Like that's not gonna fly. I gonna get you in there, okay?
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things to keep in mind during, DT application season is that um I do think that if you're gonna be serious about applying and serious about getting onto design teams, that you also need to do it with the understanding that you're not going to get accepted onto teams
Yeah.
even when you feel like you're the perfect fit. I mean, I'll tell you, I've applied to teams where other people have, like, commented on their DT posts and tagged me to say, "You would be fantastic for this." So I apply thinking, "I actually would, because I love this brand and I use it all the time." And lo and behold, didn't make it onto the team. Like,
Yeah.
there are dye companies out there that do a lot of interactive pop-up, dyes, and, that's my jam. I love that. Love interactive, love pop-up cards, and I didn't get picked, and I thought for sure I would. So, it's
Mhm.
one of those things, and that was just last year. So it's not like, you know, it's you just don't know what a design team owner is looking for when they're recruiting for a
Or
team.
yeah.
So, you have to kind of go into this process of applying knowing that it comes with rejection, but
And that
that it's
goes perfect number 5.
yeah, I know. And that that's why I'm segueing there. But that you, just need to know that it's not, if you're getting rejected, it may not necessarily be any reflection on the quality of work that you're doing at all. you just might not, and you made this point, for every, you're applying, and then there's dozens applying as
Yeah.
well. And how big are design teams? They're not huge. And so when they're looking for to create a team, they may be looking for some individuals that have different skill sets to demonstrate different things.
Mhm.
And you said that about that one company where there's like one person who does like a little bit of everything, but there are some people who are specialists in certain things.
Mhm.
So, they may be filling like a very specific thing that they're, kind of, look that they're going for, or, what have you, type of crafter they're looking for. And it's not like they're gonna tell you all of that in advance. So, but that's what they might be screening for. Um,
Mhm.
so before I get to your number 5, let me take Terry's comment. She says, "Yep, focus on what strengths you will bring to them and their company. Then it's not bragging at all." Yeah, absolutely. Meg agrees with that, and Terry also says, "Yes, that they aren't rejecting you. They're just," and I'll follow up just to say that they're just saying that you're not a good fit for them right now, and
It's not perfect.
as their team. Yeah, and as their team changes, the dynamic of people coming and going changes the dynamic of a team. The
Yeah.
trends in social media change, and they may need different things or different talents. Like, maybe now they need somebody to do shorts where they didn't before.
Mhm.
So all of that is a very there's just so many factors that they're taking into consideration, and it's not always
Mhm.
about, like, "Oh, is this person a good crafter?" That's, like, one out
Yeah.
of, like, a dozen other factors. Delise, did you say something? Did you cut out?
No.
Oh, okay. Um, Also, yeah, Jay also says, "To your earlier point, they may be looking for a given audience size versus a style." Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's one of those things where, um, you could probably understand if you were in their shoes, where design team owners might be looking for, maybe sometimes they're looking for not just, like, that you have a big social media platform, but maybe just that you're really plugged into a certain audience and aesthetic, and that you're resonating with that audience and they wanna bring that audience to their product. So, that could be, something that they're looking for as well. So then let's come to your number 5 on your top 5, and that is, I see that. Um so your number 5, and I'll speak to it first, and you can take a break. Does your style match the company brand? If not, ask before applying if they're looking for your style. So Delise is gonna take a quick bio break, comfort break, as I've heard it called. So let me talk to this a little bit, because there's a couple things with regards to brand identity and style, and aesthetic. And there is you might look at a brand and think, "Oh, they do a lot of cutesy. Maybe my style is a little too messy, too grungy, not as, cutesy." And you might think of yourself as not a good fit for that team, because it doesn't seem quite on brand with their identity that maybe you see, them promoting currently. But to Delisa's point on number 5 is maybe just ask them, because there's nothing wrong in when somebody puts out a design team call. You don't have to necessarily apply, get your questions answered, and decide whether or not you want to apply. I do it all the time. If there's something I don't understand or some clarity that I want to have before I waste anybody's time, my time in putting the application together, their time in reviewing me. I'd rather just shoot them a quick couple of questions to see if I'm understanding things correctly, to see if if I think I'm a good fit. And one of those things, to Delisa's point, could be, you know, this I seem to have a very different style to what you currently have out there. Is that something you're looking for? And there's no harm in asking before submitting your full application. So, that's I think that's where Delise was kind of headed with that. And now that you're back, you can expound on your number 5. Does your style match the company brand? And if not, ask before applying if they are looking for that.
So one thing is that sometimes you go. There's some particular companies like let's talk about Lawn Fawn. Lawn Fawn, I love their products. Do not get me wrong. I I love every release they come out in, but their look is very Lawn Fawn, and so are my team members. You see something and you immediately you can recognize it. It's recognizable, okay? And they do not have a need to niche out of there. So if that is not your jam, maybe that that is not the design team for you. Even though if you love it, if that's not how your cards look, you might not make that team. But at the same time, like ask, are you guys looking for mixed media? Are you guys looking for something a little bit more outside the box with your products? Because some people will in the VP calls will be specific, like we're looking for a mixed media, messy, blah 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 blah. We're looking for a clean and simple crafter. We're looking like they're very specific, but some other companies they leave it open. Just ask the question. First, it shows interest, which
Mhm.
I think one thing that is to me is so important. When people show interest on something, it means that they want it. I'm not
Yeah.
just throwing my resume like for every company that is out there. It's like I know who I am, and this is what I bring to the table, but I know it's not what you have usually
Yeah.
been used. So just ask, just have that again, that communication with a call, with whoever's posting the call.
Yeah, and I think that it's Meg's point is good here. So she says that with that thinking, you are cutting down on disappointment or rejection if you talk to them ahead of time.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's I didn't even think about it that way, but you're right on that point too. It's another good reason to get your questions asked beforehand, because then you just improve your chances if you know that there's good alignment in what they're looking for and what you're able to bring to the table.
Especially if it's a call where let's say that they are requesting you to use their products and you have the products, you have to enjoy the products, you love the products, but maybe the cards that you have used the products, you don't think it's your best card that you could put out there. If you want to spend time creating just before you put that extra time, just ask them, like, are you looking into this and into this different style before you put so much effort and you're so much involved into that VP call, then like Meg said, that maybe before you even get there, you they go like, no, right now we're looking to stay in our recognizable look, and you're like, perfect. I'm like, move, move, move forward.
Yeah. So then towards that, you touched on it a little bit. Do you feel like if you are applying to a company's design team that you should create something using their product, specifically for that design team or for your design team application?
If there is a card where I have used the product and I am super proud of it, oh, trust me, that's going to be the first sample that I'm going to put in my application. If I do not have something in hand that I would go like, damn, that card should be in a catalog for this company, but I have the product and I have the time and I'm like, I am at a place right now where I know I can create something for them that would wow and knock their socks off, then I will do it.
Okay.
But
Um,
I wouldn't go buying, ordering just for a haul to create a card. Does that make sense?
yeah. Okay. So if you happen to have something, use it just to show that you can put it kind of in its best light, or just to show kind of to what you said that you are truly interested and you're willing to put some effort into putting together a good application. Then go ahead and make something, because sometimes DT calls actually want you to do, like, a little bit of a test. I've seen calls
Yeah.
that are like, "Make us something," and apply that way. Um so there are some times where, like, they don't necessarily require that you use their brand product, but they want you to, as part of your application, to make something explicitly for to apply. And,
Yeah.
you may find that you actually need to, but, I think it's good perspective to have, that I don't think you should run out and buy something from all the places to to
Yeah.
apply. So let's see. Jay did comment earlier that DT Part 3 had pretty good coverage on the whole perspective of marketing product versus just making really awesome cards. Yeah. DT Part 3 was with store owners, design team owners, and their design team is essentially their marketing team. And do what does every brand want in terms of marketing? They do want to hit their niche, but once they have their niche covered, they need to get their product in front of more people and to broaden the appeal of their product as well. And so, they may take somebody who is less experienced, but crafts in a style that helps them reach a different audience over somebody who is like the perfect colorist. And by a similar token, they may want to appeal to maybe new crafters who don't have all the Copics and don't know how to do perfect three color blends. And so, they may want a crafter that's going to appeal to that audience as well. So that, I don't know about you, Delise, but sometimes I look at some stamp companies, and every example that they have on their product listing looks so gorgeous. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
could never color that well, so I don't know that I could make this stamp look as good as that. And so then I don't see myself buying it, because then I'm just gonna be like, I'm never really gonna be happy with my own coloring of it. So, it just doesn't seem approachable to me, so s
Do you know what happened to me? And totally 100% my fault. I saw an example of a card and I was like, oh my God, I must own that stamp set. And I order it, right? This person had a few cards. They were breathtaking. I got the set and I'm like, this isn't the same set. I'm like, this person is such a mind blowing colorist. Mind blowing. That every single texture on that image drawn with colored in. So when I got my stamp, I'm like, um, and now what?
How do I do that? Yeah,
I'm like, so it
that's
got me
funny.
to buy it, but I wouldn't return to buy it because it wasn't it wasn't what I expected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, so the designer put a lot into it that you wouldn't know just by looking,
But
and you don't get all of their talent when you buy that stamp.
no, you don't.
That's funny. Um, okay, so I wanna go back to a question that Jay asked earlier. He asked, "I'm curious about how many DT applications is too many?" So, let's say Dalis, there's
To
at
and
least 5 DT calls going on right now. Do
yes.
I apply to all 5? Assuming I love all 5 companies, all that good stuff, right? Do I do I apply to a lot with the expectation I'm not gonna get accepted onto all of them?
Hmm.
Or should I be more selective about it? How many is too
Okay.
many?
So right now is what I call the debutante time, right? Everyone is out like a debutante, and we because there's so many calls out there, and it's insane because they're all out exactly at the same time. They're all gonna have answers exactly at the same time. So you may apply to all 5 and not get any. You may apply to all 5 and end up with 3, thinking that you were only gonna get 1, and now can you really do 3? So ask for forgiveness and not for permission. Yes, go out there and send all 5
Mhm.
because it might be that you only get 1. If you do really truly feel that you're a good match, but also have a plan B. Like right now, let's say you have 2 DTs right now and you apply for 3 more thinking that maybe you're going to get 1 more because you think your maximum is 3. Figure it out how you're going to end up with 3 and which 3, okay? So have
Mm.
a plan B in terms of like if you have to go say to one of the ones that they just told you yes, say thank you so much. This just happened. I wasn't expecting it, and unfortunately, I don't think at this time with the load that I'm gonna have, I'm gonna be able to fulfill and make you guys happy. On the other
Yeah.
hand, if like you get these 3 new and the other 2 that you had is like maybe their time has come and you're ready to move, then just communicate and say thank you for everything that you provided, for the opportunity, for the chances, for everything. Just make sure that you leave in a great note if possible.
Yeah. I agree with your advice. I would say go ahead and apply
Hmm.
because I asked this question in part 2 and part 3, and I got the same answers from different crowds. So, even if you are accepted, it's still okay to decline.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, they are extending or inviting you to join. Usually what happens for folks who've never been on a team before, but usually what happens is that, yeah, you're given in the DT call some information, hopefully enough to make a decision as to whether or not you want to apply or not. If you are selected and invited to join their team, you usually get more details, like in the form of a design team contract. And we'll just say usual, it may not be the case all around, but usually that's what happens. And so it's fair to say that, oh, okay, now upon reviewing like the everything else and all the details of what is to be expected, that you might find, oh, this isn't the right fit for me after all. And design team owners know this. So they know that just because they're inviting you, they're not taking it for granted that you will say yes just because you showed interest in applying in the first place. So,
And the thing, you can make your own opportunity. Let's say that you get all three, and really your top was two. Like you really only wanted top two more to add to your to what you have on your plate. Make yourself an opportunity. Say, after reviewing what has come along in the next 6 months, let's say that it's a 6 month term. In the next 6 months, I think it's going to be really tight for me to be able to fulfill your requirements. But I am pretty sure that starting on this date, I would be able to be part of the team.
yeah.
Make yourself an opportunity. See, what can they say? Oh yeah, see you in 6 months. Or you'll be welcome. Or maybe they'll
Yeah.
say, okay, you can apply again.
Well, that's a good point because and I've had that conversation ahead of time too before applying where I've just said, I'm going to be really busy with work until this date. And you've said that you wanted the start date to be before that. Do you should I still apply and can I start late? Kind of to your point of what you just suggested.
Mhm.
And so I love how you phrase it though, is just to create your own opportunities.
Yeah.
And Jay is touched on exactly what I was gonna say. You could just ask, maybe at this time I don't think I can take on the full workload of a full-time design team member. Could I guest design for you, a few times during this term? And maybe give them some hard because they might say yes, but never actually, invite you to guest. You can be specific
Yeah.
and just say, "Can I guest for you every other month?" or whatever have you, whatever your terms are.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so that's awesome. So there's another question from Facebook, and again, I can only see you as Facebook user if unless you actually give StreamYard permission. So apologies. I don't know your name, but from our DT 101 group, question: are companies willing to train you on editing videos for YouTube if they like your style? I'm not very good at editing, but I'm really good at card making. Should I apply for a video position if I don't have the knowledge but request training? I'll throw it to you first, Dalis. Thoughts on that?
I, I was just checking Facebook. I think that one is coming from Shannon. Um,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
fair,
Thank you.
yeah, no worries. I would say no because most companies do not have the time. Small companies, these people sometimes have, this is not their only job. They have usually a second full time job. And they do not have the time to train you in something that is so specific, and that it really is as easy as sitting down and watching some tutorial videos on how to do it. Um, because most likely they're going to have to send you tutorial videos or make tutorial videos unless they are like your neighbor down the street. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
I would say that is that may not be the perfect fit for you. Um, you could send a request asking, are you guys going to have an open call soon for a Instagram poster or a blogger? I and just present yourself again, making opportunities. Um, but if at that moment what they're looking is for video people, they need people most likely to just hit the floor and running.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I touched on this actually a little bit earlier, probably before you joined, Shannon. But I tend to agree with Elise in that if they are looking for video team members, what they're gonna be doing when they evaluate your application is to look at your videos
Hmm.
and see if they are well produced. And
Yeah.
so so for video content creators out there, know that when your application is being evaluated, it's not about 100% about your ability as a crafter to create a final product. Um, it's about your ability to vocalize, explain what you're doing. Some people do that better than others. It's about your video setup and whether you have good lighting and good audio. So the
Hmm.
very technical aspects of a putting together a well-produced video, and your ability to demonstrate and tutorialize. So, you know, do you whether, because some people don't, always do voiceovers, but maybe they'll have captioning to
Hmm.
give the measurements and to explain it through words, similar to like maybe what they would do on a blog post, right? But they're in their video, they're really clear about how they're doing each step by step thing. So a lot of times it's if you're the kind of crafter that jumps from one thing, to another, and then it just all comes together at the end, that might be hard for somebody to follow who's trying to like learn to do what you just did. So
But to give Shannon. Shannon, do also notice most of these DP calls, um, their term is for 6 months. That means that in 6 months there is a new opportunity for a new video blogger. Okay, so that means it gives you 6 months to get ready and set up your channel, learn how to create videos, how to familiarize yourself, how to get it going. So when this call, if you really truly love this company, when this call comes back at the end of the terms, you can apply.
and it gives you a chance to know whether you enjoy doing it, because
Yes, 100%.
the term is 6 months. So that's a short time period, but it's also a long time period if it's not something you enjoy doing.
It's a long time.
So
Yes.
so I think however you wanna look at it, if a company is looking for video team members, they're looking for people who know how to do that thing. If they're looking for, like Dalis said this earlier, if they're looking for somebody who knows how to do shorts, it doesn't count that you've done 2. Like,
Mhm.
they're looking for somebody who knows it, like, is expert in it, and, has a proven track record and history of producing it so that they can actually evaluate your,
Yeah.
um, content on in that particular format. And so so I would take the time to learn that, and because you're not gonna a design team, honestly, is just not where you cut your teeth on some of these things, is how I look at it, because they are looking for people to come fully formed in a way. And so I think that doesn't mean that there isn't room for you to grow and improve, and they know that too. So it doesn't mean you have to be like an expert colorist because sometimes they're not looking
Yeah.
for that. But um but if it's something as fundamental as like, being able to produce video to join a video team or being able to produce shorts to join and like, being able to write blog tutorials. I mean, I'm not great at that. I would not apply to a blog team because I know I'm not good at it and nor would I enjoy it. So, so it is one of those things that you should have that down before you apply. Let's see. Yeah, Jay makes a really good point. Jay says that I'll say with editing, practice helps a lot. You'll want to
Yeah.
optimize your process so you can repeat it easily. Yep, and that's something that I've said in the past as well, because I think one of the questions in one of our past live streams was, how do you find the time to be on all of these different design teams? And part of finding the time is streamlining your process and mastering, some skills so that when I first started out, it might have taken me, 8 hours beginning to end, filming and having a final video ready. But over the years, I've kind of whittled that down, so that it's a little bit faster for me. And I've templatized some things so that, like Jay said, you can kind of repeat those things and makes everything just a little bit faster so that you can focus on the crafting and, speed up everything else. Awesome. That I think wraps up your top 5 list for
Yeah.
applying to design teams. So thank you for putting that together, especially um given the season that we're in and all of the interest in design teams. So I hope that everybody's finding that useful. And chat, last call for questions for Dalis. Thank you so much for spending so much time with me today, Dalis. I know it's kind of late you're where you're at, and we're almost 3 hours into this stream. So once we get chatting, we just can't stop. We're a bad combination. We're a dangerous combination.
I know. Lynn, one thing that I wanted to say is as your first mentor for the Design Team 101, I just wanted to open up if you right now are submitting for a DT entry and like maybe you have like they ask you for 4 and you have 10 and you want to narrow them to 4, just share it with us and we will give you feedback. Like maybe the lighting is better on this one, maybe this is like so you feel the best that you can be out there. Mind you, that is our opinion and you can take it or leave it, but at least you have a second opinion to help you out put out the best resume application that you can.
Oh, that's such a good thing. I'm so glad that you said that because yeah, let's circle this back to the purpose of Design Team 101, our Facebook group. So the and there was some really good conversation about specifically that Delise is, photography, how to get good lighting, how to stage, things like that. And so, yes, if you have questions, if you that's the whole purpose of Design Team 101. I dropped the link into the live chat for folks who are watching on YouTube. If you want to pop on over, join the group, answer the questions, accept the rules, all that good stuff, and we'll readily let you in. The whole idea behind the group is a sharing of ideas and advice and a community of crafters and there are store owners in that group too. So you're not only going to get
Yeah.
perspective from other crafters, but you're going to be getting perspective from potential store owners and design team owners. So it's a I feel like it's a small but very valuable community. And so with crafters and designers, veteran design team members like Dalis in the group, and whether she's our mentor, guest mentor of the month or of the quarter or not, she's going to be there to help. She's very open and free with her advice and knowledge and experience. So so too are a lot of people who are in that group. So use it for sure.
And I promise not to give advice unless it's asked.
Usually yes, that is a good rule to live by. So but I think one piece of advice that, and I'm gonna ask you, Delise, also if there's something that we haven't already covered, if there's another last piece of advice that you would offer, but to give you time to think about that, I'll offer one. Um, One thing that we haven't touched on that I would definitely um, advise for anyone who is currently, thinking about applying to design teams is that if the design team call is put out on, day one, don't feel rushed to get your application in on day one. Um, there's really no rush. You just need to make sure you get your application in by the deadline. More important is to do all the things that we've talked about. So do your research. So look at the company, like Delise said. Do you like 90% of the product? Look at their release schedule. Is that going to interfere with, for example, I am a consultant. I have some financial things, and month end is very busy for me. So I don't really like to have a lot compounding, on my work schedule and on my design team schedule. So check for those things, and look for whether you're going to have scheduling conflicts. um, Ask all the questions. If there's
Mhm.
something that you didn't understand or you would like clarity on in terms of what they've put out there on the DT call, then let's get those questions answered before you apply, and then work on putting together a really good application, because when you submit it, likely that's when they're looking at it. Because they're probably evaluating as applications come in, because otherwise it's too much to evaluate all at once at the end. So if you have the time to, like Delise said, if you've got some other product, maybe you do want to put something together, make something just to demonstrate and show how you would use their product. Take the time to do that if you think you can
Yeah.
before the deadline. So, I would just say, and then to Delisa's point, craft how you're going to sell yourself, because I'm sure when you wrote your performance review, you didn't just write it up and hit send. You probably sat overnight, let it marinate on your brain a little bit, come back to it, edit it a little, and rethink some things. So if you are serious about wanting to get onto a design team, that application is your first, is the first look somebody's going to have at your profile potentially. So make sure that that is as polished as it can be. And, there's no advantage to applying on day one versus the last day of a DT call. So
Mhm.
I would definitely say, take your time and do all the things. So hopefully I gave you enough time, Delise. Is there anything else that we haven't covered with regards to applying to a DT that you might want to offer as some final advice.
I I think I would say take your application like it's your resume
Hmm.
and take your samples like they're your references. So only send the best references that you think you want to create for them. And again, just polish that resume.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got hi Crystal. So I don't know if Crystal has been here the whole time, but we're just about to wrap up. So um so I think that Stacey, I see your question about Delisa's favorite products, but let's just ask her that in DT 101. We're because this is so, focused on design teams and whatnot. I think it's a nice getting to know Delise better. So, but maybe Delise can follow up in the DT group on that one. Well, thank you, my friend, for joining me today and sharing all of the experience, well, not all of the experience, but so much of your experience and advice on design teams, how to get onto a team, and your perspective of a design team. So remind us all again where we can find you on all of the socials, and if there's anything that you want to promote that's going on or coming up, please take a moment to do that.
So you can find me in all the different platforms as StamprGrl. Wait. Cute little StamprGrl.
Nice.
You can find me as StamprGrl in all of the platforms. And let's see what is coming in. Oh, this week. Oh my God. So one of the companies that I DT right now is Artful Angel, and they have. I can't show you the entire set of the stamp, but I can show you the card that I just created for them.
Aw.
It is a slim line. It is the most
Oh, that's
adorable
perfect.
kitty, kitty cat, space cat.
That's so cute.
I know it has a
I
bunch of
love is that
it.
vellum for their little helmet thing? That's so awesome.
Yes, it
I love
is.
it. I
Oh
love
my
it. Is
God.
that glitter embossed?
Yes, it is. It is called what is it called? Let's see. Charcoal by Recollections. It has like a
Beautiful.
wrap glitter. Like
It's like iridescent glitter. That's so perfect.
I know. And it really is has a lot of black in it. So when you heat emboss it, it looks really dark black.
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
So
Love
I am
that.
super excited for this release. Like I can't wait for you guys to see it all. There is so much cuteness in this release. So it's coming up Thursday. Thursday we will have a hop. I will be in one
That's
of the spots.
tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
That's tomorrow.
tomorrow. Oh, I I know. I've been sitting here for 3 hours, so
I
suddenly snuck
know.
up on me. No, but I can't wait on. I can't wait for you to see it. Like it really is. It's a big release, and it's a fun one.
Awesome. Jay says, fun fact, the store owner actually drew the helmet stamp. Very cute.
You know, and
Awesome. I love,
this was Jay's idea. Jay was the one who said, "I would like to
yeah.
request a kitty space theme," and I'm thinking, a kitty space theme? Like, how on earth is that gonna go? And let's just say it's gonna go perfectly because it's gorgeous.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Congrats, Jay. I knew right away. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say, but since Delise said it, um, it is very awesome that Karis, who is the owner of Artful Angel, kind of ran with a customer suggestion, a fan suggestion, and so it just goes to show that, you know, store owners listen and they want to hear what you want to buy and what you want to craft with. So put those requests out there, because who would have known that space cats would be a thing? And now it's a
Right?
thing. So
It is the
kudos,
thing.
Jay and Karis at Artful Angel. So that's coming down the pipe tomorrow. Instagram hop, starting at Delisa's channel. Pop on over to Delisa's channel at StamprGrl. I did link to her YouTube channel, but the hop will be on Instagram. But she is now at StamprGrl on Instagram, so she's going to be easy to find nowadays. Okay, so thank you again, Delise, for being here, sharing your knowledge and expertise, being so generous with your time as well. And thank you to everybody in the live chat, whether and everybody viewing, whether you're catching this on replay or you caught it live with us. I definitely appreciate you. If you haven't already, please hit that like button from wherever you're watching. We are streaming to Delisa's channel, my channel, and DT101 Facebook group. So hit that like, hit that share, especially if you thought that this was an informative conversation that maybe other crafters might find valuable as well, because the only way that YouTube and Facebook know to share our content is if you help them share it first and let them know that you like it. And so if you could do those two things, that would be awesome. And if you are catching on replay or even watching live and you have more questions, I encourage you to join us over in the Facebook group. I'll pop a link to it again, to Design Team 101. Denny and I run this group, but Dalis StamprGrl is our first guest mentor for this quarter, for this term. And so what we are today's live stream was a meet the designer, getting to know Dalis. I know because of the season of design team calls, we did focus a lot on that, but we do plan, if Dalis is not too scared of doing these ultra long live streams with me, we were planning on doing an Ask the Designer live stream where if you are in the DT101 group and you have more questions for Delise, then we can open that up as a live stream in June, so next month. So if you have more questions, definitely pop them into DT101. Delise is there. She'll see them. She'll answer them. And if there's a hot topic that we want to discuss next month, then we can do another live stream next month of Ask the Designer featuring Delise StamprGrl. So that's it from me. I'll let Delise have the final word and say her final goodbyes.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everyone that watched the live, everyone that joined us, everyone that is watching the replay, and to Lynn and Danny for letting me be the number one. I mean, the first one, the first mentor for Design 101. Thank you.
Yay. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.